Good evening. How's everyone doing today? Good. Thank you so much for having me here for this today. I really appreciate it. My name is Kristen. I am the Chief Program Officer for Friendship House, but I will talk about it a little bit, but we are now merged, not totally merged, with an organization called Lyman Recovery and Wellness. And so they both are staying nonprofits, both keeping their 501c status, but we have a parent company overseeing them called One Big House. So I am, technically Chief Program Officer for One Big House and oversee a couple of Lyman programs and Friendship House programs. We're doing that because both Friendship House and Lyman Recovery and Wellness both have very well-known names in the community, and we want to keep that. Friendship House has the focus on more the unhoused population, providing assistance to our folks who are unhoused, but then doing some preventative things to keep people who are in housing housed. And Lyman Recovery and Wellness has the lens on more of the clinical services, specifically with substance use disorder. So a lot of services around SUD services, both inpatient, outpatient, like IOP, and then they also have a housing program, just as Friendship House has a housing program. So lots of very paired synergy. A lot of times we're working with folks that are experiencing financial hardship and substance use disorder, mental health, various different things, and so the services pair very nicely together. And then One Big House will oversee both of those organizations. The organization exists, One Big House, but it does not have its nonprofit status just yet, the 501c3. So that'll come soon, more will come down the line, but that's just a little high level on maybe some of the things you've heard about Friendship House merging with another organization. Friendship House has been around for almost 40 years now. We started the winter of 87 into 88, and then in 88 became a 501c3 status. We are a coalition of churches, so we did start because there were a couple of faith communities in Wilmington that noticed there was an unhoused population, especially during the winter, that needed some services. Those of you who are familiar with Wilmington know that a lot of things shut down on the weekends and in the evenings. That's starting to change a little bit, but that was definitely the case back then. And there was a population that was out on the streets when it was really cold outside. So we started with homeless services. We have been that way. That's been part of our roots since the beginning. We started with a Sunday breakfast. So we still do that now. Maybe you have heard of it. It's called Quiche House. So we do that out of the Episcopal Church of St. Andrews and Matthews. SAMS is the abbreviation. So we do a Sunday breakfast. We bring folks in, we serve them food, and that's kind of a big part of our programming is what we call hospitality. So bringing folks in, serving coffee, food, just as you guys came in today, and had a moment of hospitality. That's a big thing we do with our programs. That gets people in the door, that gets them talking to our staff, that gets them checking in with their friends, kind of that community space to really talk about what they're going through, or maybe reach out for some resources, or maybe just find that sense of community. We firmly believe that one of the biggest barriers to people is that sense of community. A lot of times when a person is experiencing homelessness, they don't have anybody to turn to when that hardship they were facing. They don't have family members, they don't have a church community, they don't have that sense of person to take them in to offer them support. And so Friendship House really tries to be that for them as they're going through that. So we have evolved over the last 40 years, lots of different things that we work on, but on our core has always been in serving the unhoused and creating community around it. So we do that hospitality hour at all of our empowerment centers still. We have a Wilmington Empowerment Center that's a day center for folks to come in and receive services. We have a center in Newark. It's right on Main Street in Newark. It's also in a partner faith community space. And then we have a location in Middletown as well, and that's also in a partner community location as well. A lot of different reasons somebody will come in. They might come in looking for food. They might come in for our good cup of coffee. We pride ourselves on a good cup of coffee. But they might come in for resources. They're trying to learn what's in the area. Can they get a bus ticket to go somewhere? Can they, get help with housing? Can they get financial help? So a lot of various different services that they might come in for. All of our staff are equipped to be able to answer any questions that they have. We try not to be the experts on everything. We try to be very familiar with what there is in the community. If somebody is coming to us and another organization does that well, we don't want to, mimic what they're doing or compete with them. We want to refer them to that agency. We want them to be pros at it, and we want to just let them know this is out there. You can utilize it. Here's how you go. Here's what you're going to need. Here's what this looks like. We try to equip them with everything they'll need to be successful. We help with vital records, so birth certificates, IDs. We can also help with social security cards, but that is no cost once you have the birth certificate and the ID. So it's just helping them through that process, letting them know where to go, how to do those things. We can also help obtain their fingerprints. That is needed for if they are looking to get an expungement. So if they have a criminal background, they can apply for an expungement, and we can help them with that process. We can also help with court-issued fines and fees. So we have a designated fund put aside for if anybody has fees that they're still looking to pay off. A lot of times this keeps a person from not being able to get off of probation and parole, which is usually really helpful for them to be able to get employment or to get housing, so that can be a barrier to them sometimes. And then we can help with various different financial needs, security deposit. We can help with utilities and rent, and then we can also help with medical prescriptions or some various other costs depending on their situation. So that's a big thing we do out of the center. We also manage a large clothing bank in Wilmington, and so we can fill a clothing order for the person, and they can get new clothing. We do it seasonally, so right now we would still be doing summer clothes, but we are starting to shift that. So in September we'll start to do long sleeves pants, and by October you might be able to get a coat from our clothing bank. So lots of different services. Our empowerment centers are more or less a hub to resources, to knowing what's in the area, and each of our empowerment centers, we really like to know the specific resources that are in Wilmington, in Newark, in Middletown, so that they can utilize the services right in their community. I will say that Wilmington has by far the most services. Middletown has very few at the moment. There aren't many services. There is Our Daily Bread, which does food services for folks, so that's a huge service. It's supported by the community there. There is a library there that they can benefit from, but there is not a ton else down in that area. There is a state service center though, and in Newark, in addition, there is not a ton of resources either. There's no shelter outside of Wilmington, and everything else is through the 1833 Find Bed, the HUD funding, or the shelter system in that way. Newark is an interesting climate. There is also a food service there. Hope Dining Room, we'll refer folks to that a lot. But again, there's not a lot of other services besides State Service Center. So lots of different things depending on the community, but we try to be experts in those areas and let them know where they can go and what they can do. Housing is always a shortage in this time. We are definitely seeing that, feeling that, and have a lot of people that are wanting housing, wanting to be in some low income housing, something that's not going to be too much for them to be able to afford. And it is something that we continue to not have many options for. We can't we are not a shelter, we cannot create, more places, and so we are trying to advocate for it within the community and work with various partners to advocate for it because it is a really big barrier right now. I mentioned we have a clothing bank. We also do have a housing program. Our housing program is a referral-based program, and it is specifically for adults who are in some sort of recovery. They could be, substance use disorder recovery. They could be, just going through a program within incarceration. They could have domestic violence, human trafficking, various different avenues, and they'll get referred to us, and we can have them stay with us for about a year to 2 years. It is a really great program. We can have children stay with the adult while they're in that program, but the program is specifically for the adult. It pairs very nicely with our partnership with Lyman, because somebody can go through Lyman's program and then come to our transitional housing program afterwards, and that makes it so they could maybe spend 3 years with us, which is huge, especially for somebody who has gone through some significant hardship and needs that level of support as they're transitioning. And the goal is that we literally take a person who is not capable really of living on their own and is able to be self-sufficient at the end of it. So they can pay their security deposit, their rent, they can live on their own, they have a job, they're able to support themselves. So that's a little bit about our housing program. And then we also do what is called seasonal programming. So we have what we call Code Purple and Code Orange. So Friendship House manages it in Newcastle County. We do it differently than the other 2 counties. So that's just good for you to know depending on what you've heard about Kent and Sussex. But we do it in Wilmington, Newark, and Middletown, and we will call Code Purple when temperatures are really cold. It feels like 20 degrees or colder. So it's a really cold night. We're really looking for that feels like temperature and not just what the actual temperature is outside. We'll partner with different faith communities in the area, and we'll open up emergency shelter for folks to come in. We do a hot dinner for them, and then we'll transition to sleep. We'll do cots or air mattresses. They'll sleep in the church. We'll have overnight staff with them, and it's just a respite place for them to be that night. And then they'll move on for the day, go to other services, and then we'll either open up the next night if it's cold enough, or we won't open up if it's not cold enough. In the summer, we do it when it's really hot outside during that afternoon daytime hours. So we'll do 90 degrees and feels like 100 degrees. So when it's really hot. So like this past summer this current summer, it's still summer. We did a couple around July 4th. So it was really hot, like the day before the 4th of July and on the 4th of July. But we've only done a couple this summer, hasn't been many. Last winter, we did 40 nights of Code Purple. That's very high, if you remember. It was a brutal winter. We had 2 giant snowstorms. So that was a really high quantity of Code Purples that we did. So yeah, that's kind of the gist of our programming. We, this year, have started what we call an outreach team. And so we have a team of 2 staff who will go out into the community and really offer some support so that folks that aren't coming to our center are able to learn about resources, hear about what's going on in the community. And that all started as we were contracted with the city of Wilmington to do Christina Park. So we kind of evolved that role to really support the unhoused folks that were staying at Christina Park. We really had what we thought were great plans for Christina Park. We really wanted it to be a place where people were able to transition to get stable enough for us to help them with their vital records, birth certificates, IDs, then to look for employment, and then look for housing options. But unfortunately, we just didn't have enough time with them. We did transition about Altoona Park during the time that we were there. So about 15 to 20 of them were prior to the closing date. And then about 25 of them were in the last 2 weeks. We actually transitioned them into the Hope Center. So we do currently have 23 people that we're still actively working with at the Hope Center. They do have a stay there until mid-December. And so we are, have worked on getting them stable, worked on vital record, all those things, and now we'll work on housing opportunities to see if we can get them to move into somewhere else so that they aren't unhoused when they come out of the Hope Center. So yeah, it is something where we were able to work with a lot of people. They were in one designated space. We knew where to find them. We knew how to work with them, and we were able to make some good traction with some of those folks. I'm a big question person, so I am gonna kind of stop there with my presenting. That's kind of high level what we do, but I would love to open it up for questions and really, address what you all specifically want to hear about, learn about. Yeah. Go ahead.
So quick, easy question. Can you repeat what church houses the Empowerment Center in Middletown?
Middletown is Church on Main.
Church on Main.
It's a Presbyterian church right across from the Everett Theater.
Thank you.
Yeah. And now I don't think I said it. The Newark Church is in Newark United Church of Christ, which is on Main Street in Newark.
Yeah, for the services, referrals at SAM, what are the best hours if someone needs to?
So our location at SAM is open from 7 till 3, Monday through Friday. We do the morning hospitality at 7 a.m. So if they're looking for just coffee and food, that's when they should come. And then we start with our true services at 8:30.
8:30. Till 3.
Till 3, yes. We are open on Sunday mornings for that hospitality there as well, but we're open upstairs, so we use the Shipley entrance. And then in the summer and in the winter, we do open at First and Central on Saturdays.
Is there an outline packet do you have for the program?
There's not a true packet. I mean, we have brochures, we have a website, we have, information where they can learn about our services, but a lot of what we do is we talk to the individual and say, what do you need and how can we help you? It's very individualized, case by case, and that's kind of been across all our services, something we've always done.
So for an individual like come to me on Sunday morning and I would use myself connecting them to a referral, just call your 800 number or
So if they're looking for financial assistance, we encourage them to call the helpline number because there's a vetting process that happens with that. If they are just somebody who needs resources, needs to talk to somebody, I honestly encourage them to go to the center when it's open next, but all of our locations do have a phone number that you could call as well. Yeah.
So, like we've talked a lot about the difference between, programs that kind of help people to rebuild their lives versus housing first. Is that where are you guys kind of on that issue? Like, I don't think one is necessarily better than the other, but a lot of advocates do talk about housing first and then offer wraparound services as a better path towards stability as opposed to having people, continuously in a program and then, they could be years until they get into housing.
Yeah. I mean, we are huge advocates for housing in general. I don't think we specifically, lean any one way or the other way, but we just are, as an agency, we need more housing options in the community. But I think one of the unique things about our approach is that, because we have so many different programs, no matter who the person is, we should be able to offer them services. So whether they are housed, we can offer them services, or if they're unhoused, we can offer them services. And so I think just being accessible to the community is one of the pieces we try to do. Our transitional housing program and our sober living program on the Lyman side, they're using housing first models. They're putting people into houses that we own, and they're then utilizing a program while they're in that house. Now our program is specific where you have to keep working the program to keep your housing, but it is something where we are trying to make them stable with a house, with a roof over their head first, and then going from there.
Okay. And then what do you believe are the barriers to more housing, like in the state?
Yeah.
Or the city, I guess, because that's what we're more focused on. The city.
Okay. Yeah. I think it is a complicated issue. I think there's many pieces, many facets that go into it. I think a big thing is funding, and a big thing is just number of units. But I think that, just putting a person into a house isn't necessarily going to solve all their problems. There's a lot more complexity that goes with it. We've seen that before with some of our major, folks that have been chronically unhoused for many years, maybe even decades. Putting them into the Hope Center and giving them a bed is huge for that person, but it's not going to mean that they're going to stay in a housing situation continuously after that. So we kind of have seen both approaches where giving a person a program with housing can be really impactful, but just giving a person a room and a bed without those services or without that person knowing how to operate in that society, it's huge. It is.
And that's kind of what I was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Like, what path is better? Does
I
a
think
program
it
better?
depends.
It depends on the person.
I truly think it depends on the person. I think we need both options out there, because I think that for some people, they can't think about tomorrow if they don't know where they're sleeping at night. And for other people, they need something keeping them going to commit to the housing, right?
Now the state is talking about building more Hope Centers, like further down south. I feel like we need one in Wilmington. I mean, because
Sure.
I feel like the majority of the unhoused community is up here. I think the Hope Center tends to sort of serve the greater Newcastle area, which is obviously
Yeah.
pretty high population. But I don't know, I feel like I see a lot more people living on the streets here in the city.
It's always going to be more obvious in the city. That's where more resources are. That's where the bus system is. That's where people can get around more. There's more food options in the city. So there's definitely a population that is in the city and will always stay in the city. We've seen many people, we've seen hotel vouchers where the only voucher that's accessible is the Red Roof Inn in Newark, and a person chooses to then sleep on the street in Wilmington because that cuts them off from their norm. It cuts them off from where they go regularly every morning and spend their day, and it's too isolating for them to be in a completely different place without their norms.
Yeah, that's what I've noticed about the Hope Center.
Yeah.
It's kind of isolated out there.
It is. Now they have worked on the bus system. They have done a lot of things in the last couple of years to make it more accessible. I think the Hope Center has a lot of pros. There's a lot of good help that has come out of it, but it's also not for everyone. It is not a place that just anyone can be successful in. You have to want to be there. You have to be working towards it, and you have to kind of know how to work in that space. It's also a county-owned building, so if you are a single parent with children, if you have a 16-year-old, you probably would leave them at home to care for your younger children as you went to work. That's not allowed in the Hope Center. You can't have any minors under the age of 18 unattended. So there's just some restrictions because it is a county-owned building. But generally, I think it is beneficial to this community, and it's creating beds, it's creating opportunities, and then the Christiana Care floor is creating respite beds for people, which is huge. There's many folks that are recovering from a surgery or recovering from an illness and they're unhoused, and how are they ever going to fully recover if they don't have a place to be? So that floor is also really beneficial to the community.
So, like, we talked about different kinds of housing. So there's
Yeah.
emergency, there's what, transitional, and
Yeah.
then there's supportive, right? What do you think the city needs in terms of those three? Do they need all three, or?
I mean, I would argue that the more variety we have, the more a single person can find a path in this world. You know, we are humans, and it's not one size fits all. Everyone needs something that can give them the structure that they need, whether it's a lot of structure, whether it's really routine, or whether it's something where they have the flexibility to stay connected to their community, or branch out and follow their dreams. I truly think we need a little bit of everything.
Okay.
Yeah. Go
I
ahead.
have a quick question.
Yeah.
So, as you were speaking about individuals who one thing may be accommodated for, and another a room or an actual home for
Yeah.
someone to be housed in. Do you have, and you know, maybe a little bit about what, do you have like coaches, counselors, what do you have in place to help them with that goal setting or being able to make that transition into
Yeah.
those circumstances? Because coming off the street already in itself,
It's not.
it's a lot, you know, and being homeless and not having a place to call home and not knowing your next stop is already detrimental. So, you know, what services are in place to try and help them?
Yeah. So we have two housing programs. We have
What's the name of your group?
Friendship House. So all
Oh,
the
you're from Friendship House. Lynette
yeah.
Marshall, a
Okay.
friend of mine.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, nice. So yeah, in our transitional housing program and in our sober living program, which is on the Lyman recovery and wellness side, both of those have case managers assigned to both programs to work with the staff or work with the residents. So we are checking in with them regularly. If they're in the early stages, we're checking in with them every single day. We're holding them accountable. We're making sure they know their next plan for the next day, that kind of thing. And then as they grow, we'll kind of give them more independence, more freedom, more responsibility, all of those things. But we have dedicated staff that are working in the houses and with them every single day. And then we have case managers at our empowerment centers to work with people, so they can be in any program, they can be not in a program, they can be in any phase of life, and they can come to us and we'll talk with them about their situation. We can talk to them about budgeting, their income, what their goals, what they're hoping to do. And then we have an outreach team that's designated to really our unhoused population. And like right now we have about 23 people in the Hope Center that we're working with, and they're actually going to the Hope Center twice a week to meet with them and talk to them about budgeting, how they're going to job hunt, how they're going to get there, what's that going to look like, and really walk them through each step.
So with Friendship House, I just want clarification.
Yeah.
Because, I work with a couple of organizations. One of my organizations is CPAC,
Okay.
also ATV.
Yeah.
Couple of different entities that I work with. How long is the stay for you guys? Now I've heard something like they can stay like 2 years even.
It depends on the program, and it depends on the person and what they're working towards. Friendship House's transitional housing program is up to 2 years, but they need to be actively working on things that we are meeting with them to talk about for that. So what we've actually set up is stages, so that actually we'll go through 3 stages while they're in our transitional housing program, and then we have an option for graduate housing if they are able to apply for that. And so they'll go from not working, really working on themselves when they first come in, they might be doing IOP, they might be doing therapy, they might be, checking in with their primary care doctor, working on themselves first, to, stage 2, they're working, they have a job, they're starting to think about their groceries, their hygiene items, all that, but they still have a roof over their head, they're making a small program payment, to stage 3 where they're kind of mimicking living on their own, they're taking the training meals off, what's it like, how do I meal prep, how do I do all these things. And then the goal is that they're able to go out and afford their own place after that, they'll save money with us.
Cause they are working at that same
They are
time,
working,
right?
yes.
Okay. Yeah, just making sure that our
Yeah.
connected dots are there. For the Hope Center, though,
Yeah.
question, when we went there, a couple of the residents had told us that there was no, way for them to be able to prepare meals, and they only get one meal there.
The Hope Center has many challenges. It is, a place where it is not an apartment. They are not set up that way. And so there are a lot of things they have to navigate. They have to figure out how to do their laundry. There's no laundry on site there. And they have to figure out their food and all those things. So we do have case managers that will talk them through their options and what to do. And a lot of times we'll give them bus tickets for those things. But there is a lot that they, need to figure out on their own.
Yeah, there is,
Yeah.
we've done a couple of things there with them, they still have to walk to find public transportation because there's nothing that comes in that.
There
area.
is a bus that comes to that location now, but it is a bus system, so it only comes with some regularity.
Right, it doesn't come after, I should say,
Yeah.
it doesn't come late evening, so
Yeah.
some people who, I should
It
say
does
that,
have
right, I should say that.
Yes.
It's not a 24-hour access type of thing.
Yeah.
When down there, but
Yeah.
it is something.
It is something, but yeah, it has its pros, it has its cons, very much, yeah.
Hi, I'm Kimberly Reed. I'm from the Refuge and Hope Outreach
Okay.
Outreach Ministry. We're a ministry within Bethel AME Church.
Yep. Okay.
So I had a question about your transitional housing.
Yeah.
How many beds do you have?
So transitional housing side, we have about 60 beds on a given night between men and women. It does, depend on stages because we do move them through the houses as they move. So we just have to make sure we have a bed in stage 1 to bring them on. But on a given night, we're housing about 60 people.
Okay. And are you is there a certain number for women?
There are designated houses for women and for men, yes. Yeah.
And what if we wanted to refer somebody there, who would we contact? Because we don't want to just send somebody.
Sure.
We want to actually have a contact
Yeah.
person. So
The best thing to do is the first time you call to just call the housing office, and then you'll get connected with somebody, and then from there you can use that referral person as your go-to.
okay.
Yeah, and that's just on our website. That's public information. To find the housing office.
And then I think I heard you say when you answered this lady's question is that the first stage the person is not working.
When they come into the program, they do not have to have a job.
Okay.
They do need to be what we consider employable. And if they did come in and they were a little further along, we might be able to take them and just have them come directly into stage 2. But generally, most of our folks coming in are coming out of a program and aren't employed at the moment.
Okay. And do you do mental health assessments? Or?
So on the transitional housing side, nothing that we do is clinical, but we do require that they're, seeing a primary care doctor, that they're, they've been checked out that their meds are good for them, they're seeking therapy, that they're doing everything that they need to do to be able to show up and be the best version of themselves. So we do encourage them to work on themselves while they're in that first stage, and mental health is deeply considered during that time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Yes, I'm the building and community manager here at the Church of the Holy City.
Yeah.
And we are kind of a smaller congregation, like a lot of churches around here are,
Sure.
smaller and a little bit older congregations. We don't have a ton of resources to participate in, hosting an empowerment center or hosting a Code Purple event, etc. But we have found some ways. I think some of our congregants have been involved, like down at Pursuit Park, or we've done cooks here that have gone to Code Purple sites.
Okay.
And I was wondering if you could talk a little bit more about that. What are the other opportunities for like a small or medium-sized church that maybe doesn't have a ton of resources, but that does want to help and plug into your sort of network?
Sure, yeah. So we have tons of opportunities to get involved. Just as you're doing is great, helping out with Code Purple, especially when we are doing 40 nights of it. It's always a relief when another group is able to make the dinner for that night. Usually our go-tos will say go ahead. For Code Purple, what we do a lot is we have faith communities prepare soup and sandwiches, and that way, if it happens on Friday night versus Monday night, generally it's still good to use and we'll just reheat it. So that's a great way to get involved. We also do dinners to our stage 1 houses every night of the week. So if that's a smaller scale cooking, it's usually just 12 to 15 people that you're serving. And so that's a great opportunity if your congregation likes to cook. You can sign up for, every second Thursday of the month, your congregation brings the meal and you can rotate between congregation members.
Does that involve serving the food or just providing the food to you guys and you guys distribute it and serve it?
You don't have to serve it. You are welcome to join for dinner if you wanted to. So you can sit, meet the people, talk to them, kind of value that. How was your day, kind of thing. But you don't have to stand in a line and serve it.
We do it in a manual dining room.
Gotcha.
Like one of those where we provide the volunteers and the food. So
Yeah, it's
different.
it's like a dining room table. Everyone just sits down and they just grab their own portion, kind of thing.
So is anybody allowed to come, are you saying that anyone is allowed to come during those times at Friendship House, or are you just saying
That's a volunteer opportunity. So if
Friendship House?
yeah, so if somebody wanted to serve a meal, we have 2 ways to do it, both to our transitional housing program and through Code Purple. One is for about 150 people at Code Purple. One is about 12 people that you'd serve it for.
And you do which one here?
We have done some Code Purples. We've done like large pans of lasagna. I think that we translated.
Yeah. And they brought it to the location and it was
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
But go ahead. I was just gonna say other opportunities.
No, I just wanted to know how do we find out what your schedule is for?
So we just connect you to the volunteer coordinator, and the volunteer coordinator would let you know when dates are free, all of those kind of things. Yeah. Other ways to get involved are, if you want to volunteer, you can come to our empowerment centers. We have a large clothing bank. It's a great hands-on opportunity for like the youth group or a school group or your business, whatever group that you want to get involved.
With the clothing bank, do you do like closets in different churches, or is it all centralized to one bank?
So the volunteer opportunity is at the clothing bank sorting through donations. It's about like a 2 to 3 hour shift. But then if your congregation is interested in having a clothing closet, we do community orders. So we will help fill a clothing closet for you. So that way you can have one on hand. So both are options. And then with that, another option is doing a drive. So we are a nonprofit. It is great when we don't have to purchase supplies, and so that's a great one where you can do it right in your space, whatever space that is. Make a flyer, solicit donations for various different things. Everybody brings it, and then you can drop it off at one of our locations. So we do clothing, anything that you wear on your person. Street clothes are the most needed, like jeans, t-shirts, sweatshirts. We only take new socks and underwear, but other than that, anything else you wear we would take. We also do uniform items, so I'll do a plug because back to school is happening. Solid color polos, and then khaki or navy pants. We do take all sizes, and we give them to the public schools that wear uniforms. uniform items so that the students have what they need to wear. And then we also do hygiene items, so like toothpaste, toothbrushes, deodorant, tissues, various different things that folks might need, and usually those are travel size items because a lot of our folks aren't carrying their belongings so that they don't have too much to carry. And then we also do what is called a go bag. It's a non-perishable lunch, so it usually has like some protein source like a tuna packet, or sometimes even those like Chef Boyardees that are, you don't need a can opener to open. We'll do like a fruit cup, some peanut butter crackers or cheese crackers, applesauce, and then a water bottle. And I have lists for all of those if you like. You don't need to memorize those lists, so you can get connected.
Yes, Reverend Jackson. I came tonight because I was interested in partnering
Okay.
with people that are interested in getting people off the street. People that are sleeping on the street, in the parks and on the street.
Sure.
I wanted to come together and see if we could put our heads together on how to help these people that are living in the parks and on the streets, and
Yeah.
to partner with people. They have a program in Finland. Have you heard of it?
Yeah.
How they get people off the street, and the state helps them with apartments,
Mm-hmm.
and they get them off the street. And but I wanted to partner. I came here tonight to see if we could get together. I could get together with people that was interested in
Yeah.
getting these people off the streets and getting them in a place of their own. Okay, that's why I came.
Yeah, I think everybody here is focused on that on some level.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very complicated.
Yeah.
Like she pointed out, everybody has a different story, and everybody's in a different place, and what everybody's needs, each person's needs are different.
Mhm.
And so a lot of it is sorting out who that person is and what their story is and what's the best path forward for them.
Well, I think the best path for a person that's homeless is to get them in a home.
Well, and that's what I said, is that there's two different ways of looking at that. There's these kind of programs like what you guys do with Sojourner's Place.
Mhm.
They have those kind of programs where they help people to rebuild their lives, and slowly,
Yeah.
and then there are programs who believe strictly in housing first.
Well, these programs like the missions, most of them are flop houses. They feed them during the day. They go out after they wake up and they get high. They come back and go to bed, and this is a rotating thing from day to day. They're not really being helped. They have drug problems, mental health issues, alcoholic problems, and so really they're not being helped. They're getting fed and they're getting to bed at night, but they're not really getting any counseling for their drug abuse, mental health issues, okay? And so really, the missions are really just flop houses. They're not really helping anybody, okay? They give them a bed at night, give them something to eat, because I go there, okay? And I minister down there, but they're not really helping anybody. So what I came here to do is to partner with people that are interested in getting these people housed and getting them, counseling for the drugs and mental health issues and different things like that. And
Yeah, I think that's the biggest barrier, is
Mhm.
that is getting people to accept the help.
Yeah.
That's the biggest barrier.
Yeah.
I've met so many people out there that I said, if there's something I can do for you, can I help you? And they're just like, they're not ready.
well, then there's those that are ready though.
Yeah,
There's
no,
those that want help.
but that's the idea, is that you
Okay.
have to go out there and build relationships with them
Sure.
in order to build that trust to the point where they would be willing to accept help from you.
Yeah.
So
So we,
one of the biggest problems that we are seeing in society on a whole is not just here, is that there is a lack of housing for
Correct.
us to be able to put them in. Now, if we can come together, because there are lots of abandoned locations. For
Right.
example, there's a hotel that, well, I think somebody got it already, but over by where Red Lobster and Olive Garden, of course, from the hospital, and there's a hotel that they closed out there. Great building, if we can find somebody to support it. To give-
Concord Mall is going bankrupt.
Who?
Concord Mall is going bankrupt.
Yes.
It'd be a
Concord Mall.
perfect place for supportive
Yes, I
services.
heard
It's
that the
on
other
the
day
bus
too.
line, there's
Yeah.
jobs up and down the street.
So the foundation that we need to begin to lay is trying to find people who would help us to invest in these abandoned places. And I know, Danny, you got something going on with
Well,
that.
what I would say is that the part of the issue, I'm just gonna say this, is the community.
Yeah.
So, you know, like we talk about West Side, I went to the Civic Association meeting, you know, they talked about building the tiny homes over there.
Yeah.
And same with Southbridge, and they didn't want it.
But who was the funder for
Mhm.
those things?
Well, they could've got money from the state, there was millions of dollars.
Okay, then, because I'm saying that only because I know a woman, I'm also part of, DBCA, which is Delaware Black Contractors Association. I'm the procurement officer for them as well as the office administrator. And it is important that if we have, or you know people who are willing to invest in that, we need to come together and know that because, as contractors, we look to refurbish, rebuild, knock down, rebuild, you know, these are important entities. Yes, there are some who don't wanna come off the street.
Mhm.
You're absolutely 100% correct. There's some who feel like, you know, I'm useless, I'm sorry, there's no doors opening for me, I've been this way. Some people have been homeless for decades.
Right.
Not even just years, decades. And it is a hard concept for them to even fathom that somebody wants to bring them in out of the cold and they have adjusted.
Well, and
That's
they
the
just,
best word.
they don't know how to, they have been living in survival mode for so
Yes.
long, they don't know how to
Yes.
operate.
And they're not receptive to the society
Yeah.
that is around them. Like if we go, and I know you see that, there you go, took the words
Well,
right out
But
of my mouth.
some of them want help, some of them want help.
Well, they've normalized it.
And,
It's, for some people, it's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
Some people, and I
Well, and
say it, wanna be unhoused.
yeah.
Well, and our society has normalized it. Like, we have created a world where there are societal norms and there are people that don't fit into
Fit
those
into those
norms.
norms.
And so when they feel isolated, you know, one of the ways is when you are a person who is unhoused, you can make your own rules. You don't have to live the rules of a program, or, you know, they get to have that freedom in some ways.
You have
And-
to,
and-
you have to think about,
Yeah, to Dan's point, when he said they don't want it, you were referring to the community,
Yeah.
to
Yeah,
the
he's
community
talking about
doesn't
people,
want
yeah.
those.
Oh,
Those-
yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
what
the
you
civic
mean.
associations.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Sonia.
And the thing about that, even, let's be really truthful, we as working people, most of us in here are working people, right? The price of living
I know.
continues to rise while we continue to stay back here. And so, when you look at it, listen,
The margins are growing further and
It's-
further apart.
listen, Delmarva, I don't even know what they're supplying no more, that the bill comes so high. What are you supplying,
Well,
honestly?
I
But
think,
Delmarva's a good example because Delmarva just had their public hearing for rate increases last week. I was there. I don't know how many of you were there. I don't remember seeing anybody there. But if we don't take advantage of going to these public places and saying don't raise the rates, they're going to keep raising it.
I didn't see
They
that
just,
either.
the public hearing last week they just had in Wilmington
Yeah.
was to build luxury apartments behind Santa Fe Restaurant. We don't need luxury apartments behind Santa Fe Restaurant. We need real apartments for moderate to low income folk behind there. And everybody said we don't want apartments. any kind. That's on a bus route, that's right near low-income jobs. If we're not gonna go out and advocate for the things that we need, we're gonna get what we get. And that's on us. It's not about them, what they want or don't want. It's about what we provide and do for our community.
There you go.
Getting that message out is the important part, because I didn't know, listen, if I hear things like that, I definitely get
Yes,
out
sir.
of
And get on my mailing
There's
list.
a,
Say that. Say
Get on
that.
my mailing list, I'll let you know.
I think we should give him a turn.
turn.
you can just an idea. If we was to get together and get some land, it's hard to get land in Wilmington.
Yeah.
Because I'm friends with the director of the city of Wilmington. He's the director of the land, and it's just hard. You gotta go through all kinds of things just to get a piece of land. Okay. Now, if I look into other states. You get a piece of land, and land is cheaper in a lot of other states, and put a container home on there. And a shipping container home is basically a one-bedroom apartment, okay? And you can get them from like $2,500 to $3,200, and they'll last for 25 years, okay? And you got to get the staff. You have to get people for counseling and basically around-the-clock staff for that. But it can work. It can work.
It can.
It can work.
There's
You just need people to get together and say we're going to do it. Okay.
Well, but it is hard to find a spot to do that in Wilmington.
Yeah,
and,
it is.
There's options for people to go down to Georgetown for something similar, but not everybody wants to go and do that.
Right.
Yeah, and that's what they were trying to do. I'm sorry, go ahead, mister.
Go ahead, finish
But
it.
that's what they were trying to do in Southbridge and on the west
Yes.
side. They were trying to build tiny homes as transitional housing for the people who were unhoused. But like I said, I went to those civic association meetings. I even sent links out through the emails to everybody. I mean, you're not in the email chain, but about those meetings where the civic association have said they have enough problems in their community, they don't want it. But that doesn't fundamentally change the situation.
Right.
And that was gonna be what I was gonna ask you next, is where are you guys with the city? They closed the encampment, and when I went to those task force meetings, they said specifically, they were not allowing any more encampments in the city. They basically were outlawing it. And now, when you go down to Sunday Breakfast Mission, all those people are back.
And
Under
it's
the
so,
bridge.
oh, I'm sorry, sir, you go ahead and say what you have to say, go ahead. No, go ahead, please. No,
Please
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Please.
I need to
It brings
hear
it
what
all,
you
it
have.
brings it all the way back to the first point that she brought up. That we have to vet these people. Okay, we can come up with a million solutions of wanting to house them, but each case is different. I'm a product of the mission, sir. Missions are not just the flop outs. It was just, it's not designed to medicate them or treat them. It's just to bed them at night and take them off the street in order for their minds to get quite enough time to wrap around what's going on in their lives. And then you have to have those administrators with counselors and different social workers and other organizations that are attached to the mission to be able to start vetting those people to say, okay, this person needs mental health, then he needs a direct counselor. This individual, he's employable. He's gotten past drug addiction, but yet he's not able to maintain a stable housing because he doesn't make enough. This individual over here, he has drug problems, so he needs to go to a treatment program. And those are some of the individuals. I've been dealing with people for almost 30 years in ministry. After coming off the street, off being in drugs, I was in the U.S. military, college, all of that, and the mission helped me.
Can I say something?
But I'm just sharing my point of view
Right.
of what you said,
Right.
to say that, you know, it is what it is at this moment,
Yeah.
but it's not an end all for us to say that it does not work. It does work
No,
at
it
one
don't work.
place.
It don't
at
work.
At one place
It
to
don't work.
individuals.
It don't work.
To
Some men,
individuals.
they get up in the morning, they go out all day and get high.
I'm
They
not-
come back the
I'm-
next
I'm-
day
I'm-
and do the same thing. Or they not getting no help. They
It's
not
the-
getting
it's
no
the-
help.
it's the-
What's
it's the-
happening
it's
is,
the individuals
what
that
is
want
happening,
help.
I go to the missions. I minister down there
I
every
go to the
month.
missions.
Okay, I've been in the mission. I
I
slept
know
on the
it.
street.
I know
Okay,
it too.
so I'm telling
I'm
you
not gonna-
that
I'm
it
not
don't work.
arguing about it.
I'm not gonna argue with you about it, but I'm with
you are,
that.
but you sound like you are.
Okay, but I'm telling you,
You sound like
they
you are.
flop houses.
You sound
That's
like
all
you
they are. They're not getting no
I'm
help.
just trying to
They
bring
don't
the
get no
point
help. They
back to
sleep.
what we were
They
talking
sleep
about.
down there, and then they go out during the day, and they don't get no. They get drugged up. They drink. Anybody that sleeps on the street is going to get high.
That's those individuals
Okay,
that
that's-
don't want
they gonna get
anything.
high
That's
because
the
they
same
don't-
thing she was
All
saying,
right,
sir. That's the same thing
let's
she was saying.
leave this here. Let's go on to the next
That's the same
question.
thing she was saying.
Thank you. Go
No,
ahead.
I just wanted to see if I could
Oh.
ask the two gentlemen to bring it down and pause before interrupting, and so that we can all appreciate what each individual has to say. I think that works a lot.
And that's why I allowed everybody, that's why I allowed everybody to say what they needed
I think
to say.
you
And
have
just
to be
wanted
careful
say
about
my-
generalizing about people
Yeah.
in general, but you have to be very careful about generalizing people who are on house. Not everybody who's on house has substance abuse. Not everybody in the Sunday breakfast mission has substance abuse problems. I've met people who they fell in a bad situation. They got injured at work. They lost their job.
Yeah.
They lost
Sure.
where they were living.
Sure.
Or somebody was taking care of them their whole life, and now that person has died, and now they're on the street. And they don't know how to take care of
My
themselves.
encounter with the people that live down on the street, they have because they're living on the street, they have to seem like they have to get high, okay, to kind of help their problems, cope with their problems, okay? The drink or the drug, it kind of helps them. And you know, living on the street, it's hard, okay?
Yeah.
So they're gonna get high, okay? And they're gonna do things to basically just to try to live, but they're not gonna live like they should, okay?
Yeah, my point is that shaming them about what their issues are isn't going to get them into the help that they need. Like I said, the biggest barrier, well, getting angry with them or getting angry about the fact that that's the situation for many people in the missions or wherever, that's not going to get them to where they need to go.
With our experience, there's a lot of stereotypes and a lot of norms around the unhoused population. And there are, we do see a lot of drug use in Wilmington. We do see a lot of mental health issues, and we do see a large homeless population. There's crossover between all three of those categories, but it is not one size fits all. It is not the norm, and it is not the norm that, every person who has substance use disorder ends up homeless, and it's not the norm that every homeless person has substance use disorder. There are many, just as there are many people in this room with different experiences, that is the same for the unhoused population.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I think there's some things we should also remember is only 10% of people who are homeless live on the streets.
Yeah.
90% of people who are homeless, 90% live in transitional housing, living in tripled up, living couch serving, living in motel hotels. They're not even they're not visible to us. We don't even know who they are. And that's like a piece of it. And then the other piece of it that I think we need to remember is the fastest growing population who is homeless. This is a national statistic, but Delaware's in the United States still, so it still applies. People over 55, the first time they've ever been homeless. That's the fastest growing is our seniors who are one crisis away. They didn't get there because of mental health. They didn't get there because of substance abuse. They got there because their car broke down They got there because there was a medical crisis and they didn't have the savings to pay for it. And then the last thing I'll just say is you also have to remember is 25% of all the homeless in Delaware, 25% are under the age of 18. Under the age of 18, they didn't do anything. And they're homeless. So it's not about any one category of people. It's about human beings that need society as a whole to embrace them, respect them, and give them dignity and home.
Yeah, and what I always say is that it's always existed. It will always exist on some level. The best that we can do
And
is
where it says that in Deuteronomy, right after it says there will always be needy among you, it says, and don't you dare close your hand or harden your heart to them.
Correct.
That's exactly what it says in Deuteronomy. Yeah, they might always be there, but we have a responsibility to keep our hands open and our hearts soft.
much is given, much is required.
And
Sometimes
just-
we're gonna have trouble.
And just as we start talking about solutions, I mean, I think the Hope Center is a really good example where there are a lot of good things that are coming out of the Hope Center, but there are still people that slip through the cracks. There are people that have been kicked out of the Hope Center many times and are not given that third chance, probably rightfully so at the moment, but it means that that option is not an option for that person. And so as we build new housing options, as we build new programs, as we develop more opportunities, they're helping people. They will, but there are always gonna be people in this society that slips through the cracks. And so we're gonna have to keep being creative and keep building relationships and keep meeting them where they are. That's gonna have to continue through this whole time.
Yeah. Okay, any other questions?
No, I just want to say, you know, I apologize if I stepped out of order.
You
But
did.
I
You
just
didn't.
express it, that we're all here with different avenues.
Yeah.
And this is why I got connected with this coalition.
Yeah.
Because there's so many different veins in this room that we're able to tap into. So those individuals that we come in encounter with, we're able to point them to different places. Like the gentlemen that came from Sojourners, that's another resource.
Yeah.
The young lady that came that dealt with women that were being trafficked. She was a great support of helping some of the women that were down at the park. You know what I mean? And so I believe that we all speaking the same thing of wanting to end the crisis of people being homeless, but yet there's still an economical part that has to come to play with that as well. So if you give them a house, how they gonna take care of it?
Right.
You know what I mean? But if we don't take care of their mental issues, their social issues, you know, living issues, they won't sustain it. They'll be right back out there again.
And there's so many life skills that come with it too. Like we've encountered many people that like had their own designated bed for their first time. And like how do you go from a person who's never had their own room or their own bed to expecting that they know how to take care of the space, that they know how to clean, that they know how to change their sheets and wash them and not even in their bed, right? So there's a lot of norms that life skills that we evolve and group take for granted that some of these folks they have to take time to learn that. Yeah.
My name is Carmela Jackson, and I'm CRO with CTAG and elder at my church, and have been working in this field for a long time. Also a Christian counselor. And I hear you all talking, and I'm so glad that we're having these dialogues, because that's the start of everything. And I know most of you here have already been at this a while. My cousin and quite a few other people have been at this a while. One of the biggest deterrents to us being successful at attacking this and becoming successful at minimizing, not doing away with it, but minimizing, is that we keep having too many fragments going on instead of having coalitions work together across skill sets, across service sets, across knowledge and data sets, because if we don't work this together, it won't work. I'm sure you probably already said this, one of the things our home challenged face is having to deal with too many entities for too many things, and the travel and the connection and the reporting that's also not shared, and the information that they have to gather. And come on, family, if any one of us has to go through that much work in one day to find some place to lay our heads, we'll probably not be successful. That's the first thing. So I just attended the harm reduction
Okay. The
conference.
conference.
Yes, it was an awesome conference.
Yeah.
Yes. But this same concern rose in this, and that we have got to develop a link that works across all lines, so they can be seamless services for those in need, and not cause them additional harm in having to repeat this over and over again. I'm a mother, grandmother, and a great-grandmother. If I have to repeat myself, the same thing, 9 times in one day, I'm gonna be a little annoyed.
By morning.
By night, I'm gonna be annoyed. And so, can you imagine someone who's already frustrated, hurt, afraid, maybe having mental illness, maybe not, maybe having addiction issues, maybe not, trying to hold on to their job, trying to hold on to their children, which is another issue in the United States.
Yeah.
And then having to repeat myself 9 times in one day with the same thing. All I'm saying is, I would love to, I would be happy to help make a connection so that we can start having we used to call them one-stops. So we can begin some one-stops that will keep the people from having to run all over creation to get one thing done. They're just trying to survive, like the rest of us.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think there needs to be a clear path
It does.
for people to know if I'm in this situation, how do I get to here in a very clear way? Because you're right, there's so many organizations, there's so many paths that they can take, and what everybody needs is different, obviously. So, I thought that the park was that in a certain sense. That was what the city was trying to do.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I think due to politics and due to the community, you know, if you want to have something like that, you need to have broader support. And that's one of the things that I've been trying to get is more unity across the city in order to focus on this. If we can get unity on this one issue, the unhoused issue, then maybe we can get unity on other issues.
What's your name?
My name's Daniel.
Hi, Daniel. I honestly believe that the unity has to come across all entities. It has to be private sector, nonprofit, and governmental. Because otherwise we don't get to reach all the areas that those who are facing those challenges need to overcome. That whole situation in the park started off as a great idea. But if it's still fragmented, it's not helping because there are other concerns that people have. Security.
Yeah.
Okay. Now that's just people. That's just a people concern. It really is not about the fact that they're unhoused. It's a people concern. So I don't think that was dealt with well. That's my personal opinion. I said that. But these are the kind of things that we have to make sure that we circumference when we're talking about building a bridge, so that they will be able to have some continuity in getting services.
No, I think you're right. I mean, you know, in terms of like services is one thing, but I'm talking about the broader community.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the civic associations, because those are the people that the mayor and the city council, they're the ones they answer to.
Yeah.
And when the West Side Civic Association said we don't want it here, what did they do? They closed it in a month. It was closed.
Yeah.
And when they came back and they said, we want to build the tiny homes, it was shot down immediately.
So I apologize, what was the park?
Christina Park.
Church Street, 4th and Church Street.
It's a park that some homeless folks were starting to camp in.
Okay.
And when our governor became the mayor of Wilmington, he took on kind of a prior issue of people wanting to address homelessness in the city, and he created a task force team where they assessed it and kind of And one of the recommendations was to let the park be an encampment and
Okay.
bring on a nonprofit to
Okay.
help manage it. And so that happened, and that was about a 6-month span that it was there. And Friendship House, who I work for, was the nonprofit that oversaw the process there.
And then they got rid of it.
And then they closed it down.
Right.
Yeah, so it was
Okay.
closed down in June.
Right.
Couple of
And it was
months.
on, it's the west side, right?
No,
It's-
it's east side.
it's-
It's down the block from, it's East Wilmington. If you go straight down 4th Street, you're gonna, before we
Okay.
get to the bridge, there's a park on the right hand
Yeah.
side.
Right.
It's the, we from the east side.
By the Sunday.
Call it the east side, call it the
Okay.
east side park, under the bridge?
Yeah.
Okay.
The reason I asked is because I live on the west side.
Okay.
And under the bridge there, they
Yeah.
did a lot of camping,
Right.
tenting, and then even up on the exits, they do a
Right.
lot of tenting
Right.
and camping. And when I first moved there 2 years ago, it was a lot more of them there. And then the more the years have progressed, a lot less have been there. And then we just overheard because, and I've seen cops make them move. And I'm like, who are they bothering?
Yeah.
Why are you bothering them? They're to the bridge. They're not bothering me. I don't care. They're not hurting anybody. But then they were saying that the city thinks it looks bad. It's not presentable. You know, Tent City is what they're calling it. We're not going to have that here. So to me, it was like, who is saying we can't have that here? Who are the people saying that this doesn't look well? Because I'm sorry, I'm a very blunt person, so excuse me, my name is Shalise. So my question was, which one of y'all taking them home?
Right.
Because if none of y'all got nowhere to put them to make it look better,
No, I just
why
want
are
them
you
on the next block. They'd
bothering?
be over
Exactly,
that block.
why are you bothering them when they come together, they got their whole little thing working out for them, why are you bothering them and they not bothering you? And then it was like, secure, oh, that's not safe for the city. Again, who are they bothering? And ain't nobody bothering them, so,
There is a lot of polar feelings in the city of Wilmington right now on whether, people should just be able to be where they are, and people that wanted to be a thriving city and develop.
yeah, because they said there was a lot of drugs within them. And I've never been to one for myself, so I couldn't say yes or I couldn't say no when the topic came up for conversation. And that's where the safety became a problem. And it's like, well, wherever you go, there's going to be drugs, regardless if they're in a home, in a tent, in a camp, in a car, wherever it is, there's still going to be drugs. But why make them now move to somewhere else that is completely more unsafe? At least it was 10 or 12 of them together with each other. Now they're all trying to scatter or, and then why make it that it's such a problem for them to live? Like, you really gonna lock them up? Like,
And they will. That part, they will lock them up
and you got 5 minutes to wrap up your whole life or you're going to jail.
And in response to what you're saying, they are starting to spread throughout on this Kirkwood Highway.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And there's 2 sides to it, and they are in there camping. Yeah.
That's not new.
I'm not saying that it's new. I'm saying that they are finding other, even though they're finding other locations where they go. Behind the Wawa, 113 back there, there's a whole group that live in the woods over there. So at the end of the spectrum, or at the end of the day, it's not that we're like you're saying, that they are being put out, but they're migrating to other places.
And my thing is like, why not try to keep them together? Instead of having them in so many separate places.
That's
Well, that was
Like
ours.
back up on Concord Highway,
That
back
was
up in the
ours.
railroad, back up there. We used to live there, me and my child, and we used to live on Concord Avenue, and we would see them back up under the railroad track. And I'm like, that's definitely not safe for somebody to live up under there.
There's a delicate balance to this.
But I think the point that I've been trying to make is this, is that even though the park is no longer exists, it hasn't fundamentally changed anything.
Correct.
All those people that are in the Hope Center or given hotel vouchers, some of them are gonna end up being back on the street.
Hotel vouchers are done.
Yeah,
Everybody in
lots of them are
Christina
gone.
Park, they got a hotel voucher, the voucher's done.
Yeah.
And
They're gone.
when you talk to the city about it, they said, oh, those people aren't from Delaware.
which
It's not
is,
true.
That's not true.
it's not true.
And that's what needs to be said. These are people from the community.
So am I hearing that we think that this needs to be specifically directed from the governmental level down versus from the community up?
Needs to be
No,
community up.
up.
Okay.
Community, and that's what I was trying to say. We need broader support, especially in the minority community, because they make up, you guys make up more than half the city. So when you guys stand together and say enough is enough, things change.
And but we also need to make sure that we have all of the other nationalities, faith-based groups working together, because historically, they've not heard us.
Correct.
Historically, they don't listen until the other communities
Right.
speak up. So we really need to be together, which is why I say this unity piece is necessary, so that everyone is heard and they're getting the same information across the board.
That's what I've been working all this time to do.
Yeah.
It's not, and I'll tell you, it ain't easy.
And what group are you from?
This is my meeting. I've created this meeting of the Association for the Unhoused in the city of Wilmington. So what I do is I go to every Sunday I go to another church and I work to get the churches and the religious organizations to work together, and then also Friendship House, Sojourner's Place, the Ministry of Caring, St. Patrick's Center,
Oh, yeah.
you know, all these different people from all different walks of life that are all doing something different, but we're all doing the same thing.
And that's important, that's a great point right there, because you have so many little, instead of coming together to form like a conglomerate of individuals or groups, organizations, to address it as a whole. You
Yeah.
have too many.
I mean, even in smaller communities, you know, like I was talking about Southbridge earlier. There's like 15 churches over in Southbridge, and I've been to the civic association meetings over there, and there's nobody represented from the religious organizations in the civic associations. I'm like, how is this possible? Because the parishioners that go to the churches don't live in the community, and the churches don't. They may serve the broader community, but they may not serve the people who actually live there. And so that's something that needs to be a larger conversation. And I've spoken with IMAC. I've spoken in front of IMAC, but they have their own inner politics, and getting them to do certain things is not easy. You know, and then there's churches that are even one block from each other that have no relationship, have no dialogue. And then you add the racial dynamic, the city is still racially divided. I've been to churches that are all white, all black, or all Hispanic. And that's just a fact.
Human nature, right?
Yeah, so there are larger conversations that need to be had. And I think Wilmington I've been saying we need like a citywide civic association or meeting where we can begin to have an agenda to focus on things that the community really needs to push forward. Because I personally think the civic associations are not doing it. Even the city council members are not able to push forward things that are in the best interest of this community. And that's, you know, the unhoused community is just one of them. You know, the gun violence is another one.
Yeah.
Poverty, you know, and all these problems are interconnected.
Yes, they are.
And that's, you know, you're talking about the people you see out there begging near the on-ramp and off-ramp for 95. I've been down there on the west side. I know what it's like. And they go out there and they get the money, they go to the drug corners, they sit in the alleyways, they do the drug, and it's a cycle. That just all connected.
I just I cringe a little bit when we place everybody in that, because they on the corners that they're all doing drugs. Let me just share this with you, a few experiences from doing this work for a long time. I've had 22-year-old young women who lost their jobs and couldn't get their job right back, so they lost their homes, and then they lost their cars, and then they had nowhere to go, and they may be on the corner begging. Somebody thought they were out there to trick, and they weren't. They were out there because they had children they had to feed, and were hoping to get some money. Did they look like somebody who might be drugging? Absolutely. Is that why they were there? No. And I'm not saying that we should automatically know, but what I'm saying is the biggest majority of the people are not addicted to anything. They're just challenged by life's issues.
Yeah, and I said that earlier, we can't make generalizations.
Yeah.
But, you know, 7th and a half Street, most of the people down there
That's true.
are suffering from substance abuse.
Absolutely, you get pockets.
It's quite a few of them that are out there, you know, drinking, drugging, da 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 da, but then there's the other side of that population of people who were diligently working, who had jobs, who had homes, the price of, the cost of rent, loss of jobs, the cost of just utilities, all of those things plague people who are decent people who have worked all their life. There are other life situations that cause homelessness besides drugs and alcohol and things. There are other entities too.
People are often surprised when we talk about how many of our folks that are unhoused actually do have jobs.
Right.
Yeah.
We
Many
see y'all in the school districts. When she was in school, and we would see children that were unhoused, and it's because their parents are unhoused. And it was like, we happened to be in a hotel at the time because of a fire, but thank God I had renter's insurance, or we'd been unhoused.
Right.
So you never know when you're one paycheck away, one accident away,
What
one
happens?
emergency away, one anything away from being unhoused, and you just can't at the time get yourself back up. And it only takes one good 2 weeks before, you know, a good 30 days before you're so far behind sometimes. In this world that we're in right now, things cost so much. Things cost so much. It's sad, you know. Y'all, a gallon of gas is over $4. So if you don't have the $300 to pay the insurance this month, you ain't gonna have it next month. You know what I'm saying? So that is a lot of times we do see the substance abuse from whatever angle it's coming from that has caused the unhoused. But then there's other reasons that make them unhoused too. So my question is, because I didn't know anything about this meeting, but I'm so grateful to be here tonight. What is the purpose for this meeting, and what are we trying to accomplish and get out of this meeting tonight?
Well, Friendship House was here to speak, so, you know, the purpose of these meetings is to give a platform to professionals. I'm not an expert in homelessness. You guys are. So the purpose of this is for them to educate the religious organizations or other organizations. Anyone can come to these meetings, civic members, in order to educate us about what's the solution. And like I said, I don't think there's ever going to be a total solution. It's always going to exist on some level. We don't live in a world where everything can be equal on every level. You know, there's always going to be people who are rich, and there's always going to be people who are poor. But there's got to be a clear path to the middle. And right now, we're way out of balance. So we got to work to getting it back to more of a balance. So the professionals are here to educate us about what they believe is the best path forward, whether that's housing, whether that's programs, whether that's social workers, whether that's, you know, medical needs, whatever the needs are, because like we said, it's a very complex, I would say, the unhoused issue is a very complex issue, and there's no one fix. My belief, personally, that it's about people. More people have to care about other people.
True. That's true.
And that's why I believe we need a real coalition. We need a movement in order to push things forward in the right direction.
Can I just say?
I want to just say real quick, thank you for bringing the professionals. By us showing up, Reverend Keith showing up at that initial meeting, hearing the different organizations speak helped us understand, because we know the names, we know they're out there, and we're working with many of the people who come from the Sunday Breakfast Mission and the community but when, his name, Morgan at Sojourner's
Yeah.
Place, when he spoke, like my ears opened up, and I was like, oh yeah, and I'm thinking about the women that I work with, you know, so I reached out to them. So this sharing of information is gonna help us in our work that we're doing daily. I reached out to Sojourner's Place. We're able to get all kinds of information that I did not know about. Thank you for providing the information, you know, that you provided. I wish you were here at the start. But, you know, so I'm sitting here listening to the things you shared, and I'm already thinking, you know, and that's why I asked the question, who do we talk to? So that we can, you know, begin to make these referrals, and at least start somewhere. We're not like you said, a citywide organization, but, you know, we're starting from the ground. We just have to keep at it and keep telling other people that we work with doing the same thing, that this organization exists and this is what we're trying to do. So,
Yeah, so
it's a work
essentially,
in process.
this is an association, right? So it's about building relationships across different, I guess, professions, right? Or platforms. It could be religious, it could be civic, it could be political, it could be educational. It depends on, you know, what your needs are. But I think but then there's the broader issue is that we need to push something political forward with the city council, with the mayor, because we're in a place within the city that is, it's unacceptable.
So if I can ask a question, then, not lots of questions, let me try to put this together. Have in your wonderful efforts, in the wonderful group, and I'm hearing you say that this has been ongoing for you, been working diligently trying to bring us together. But have we come up with a formulated plan to present to a group, whether it's city council or the mayor or the governor or
This is our
what we say we want to
This
do?
is our fourth meeting,
meeting?
right? So we're just continuing to hear more from the professionals in order to build an agenda.
Okay.
You know, I talked a little bit about different kinds of housing earlier, what she believed the needs are, and I think that's part of it. So emergency housing, transitional housing, supportive housing. So those are the three.
That's right.
So what is the need for in the city? Obviously, housing is a huge part of it. The other part of it, I believe, is substance abuse. So longer term programs for people, because I think they usually only live about 3 months or
Not even at this point. So detox can be up to 14 days, and that you often will get released. And if you haven't talked to somebody about where you're going to go to next, so there are various different programs, and our Friendship House has a formal partnership with Lyman Recovery and Wellness, and so they have currently a 3.1 program that you can get referred to, which is about a month to 2 months. But we are looking at making it a 3.7, which will be more inpatient services, and they will have detox in it itself. So yeah, it is a need in this community. We're looking at that
So
right now.
there are a few, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you
You're okay. Go ahead.
off.
There's a bunch of other ones like
Well, I just want to share that with them. Friendship House has always been the stapler in this community, helping, again, from start to finish. From one night to finding help for you, but there are some other organizations that are the pickup piece. Impact Life, I don't know if I know.
very familiar.
Okay, Impact Life is an organization that started working with homelessness and drug addiction recovery programs. And so they've developed housing for both areas, but they've expanded it recently. So that I don't know if you know that, but okay.
Yeah.
All right. So
And you're good. Keep saying it.
Okay.
They don't know. I know. But they don't know.
So Impact Life is just one of the places. There are some other organizations like CTAC who are working to build transitional homes, but not in the traditional meaning of transitional homes like they used to be. Putting someone in a place for 90 days is really not a help to them.
right.
They really need to be able to stay 6 months to a year minimally.
And that's kind of the point I was trying to make.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need longer term
Long-term
treatment for
treatment.
people with substance abuse
Long-term
or even
assistance.
just mental health issues.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the last part would be affordability and prevention, right?
Well, that's what the next piece I was gonna mention
Yeah.
to you, and that part of what we need is to have professionals at the table who are licensed and willing to give their time without payment. Because a lot of them don't have that kind of insurance to cover these things. They don't even have the connection to get them. They're still building that, so the licensed professionals, the licensed social workers, the therapists, and the counselors, because you need a combination of the three, in order, so that they can begin to get the services they want, but it would really have to be on a,
Pro bono.
thank you, I couldn't think of the word, Keith. Thank
Well,
you.
so Lyman's programming is for uninsured and underinsured,
Uh-huh,
and so it actually gets billed through DSAM.
Right.
So there are a lot of pathways in this current Delaware climate, and there's a lot of funding around like opioid abatement funding
Yes.
for substance use disorders. There is a lot of like opportunities that are happening in the community for getting clinical services to people for whether they're uninsured and underinsured. So
Well, what I meant by preventative is like we were talking about Delmarva or
oh yeah.
rental assistance, like she was talking about earlier. Keeping people who, before they fall into that situation, from falling into that situation.
It's hard. It's really difficult right now in the city of Wilmington because a lot of those programming don't have the funding, and I don't know where they're supposed to get that funding from. But they don't have the funding. Like Catholic Charities, they don't have the funding where they were giving people in public housing and housing assistance and income-based housing. They were giving that money to people for their electricity, and it was coming every season for people to help them stay afloat. They don't have it anymore to give people. People are coming in looking for it, and all it says is, "Put your name on the list. If it comes in, we'll send it out to you." But they have no guarantees, so again, you're going to slip. But that's not nothing that an organization or an association can really force or can get, because that has to come from beyond Wilmington or beyond really like Delaware. That's like
And when
that's
you
like
talk
Trump.
to, and when you talk to the mayor, he passes the buck to the state.
And that's gonna continue to
That's
happen.
how it's gonna go.
Because of the lack of funding. However, what I wanted to say is that I met Daniel at
My work.
Royal Farms, and we just happened to strike up a conversation, which is what got
That's
me
amazing.
to come. These are my sissies that I invited to come in addition to. So one of the good things about what you are doing is the word of mouth. And we do need to do that before we can formulate and say, we know that there's things that don't work, we know that there's things that do work, but in order to be effective, we need to come together as a group of individuals that are going to lead the way and have an agenda. This is great, but we need to have an agenda of focus, what's first, what's next. I'm an educator, so I believe in sequence. I've been doing
Yeah,
that
no,
for
I
30
agree.
years.
I agree. You
So
know.
when you are ready to formulate, you need to formulate like a board or, some constituents where we can have individual, I didn't get your name,
Kristen.
individuals like Kristen at the table with us. And I say us because we are here because we all believe in this situation, and we believe that it is something that is important, that needs to be addressed so that we know direction and where we need to or want to go and what's.
You know, I think part of the problem, with like the task force was that was exactly why they were created,
Yeah.
was to do exactly that.
Yeah.
But then they got into it and then they just abandoned shit.
Yeah.
They saw it was some more layers to it
Yes.
beyond where they were. Once they gathered the information, and they said, okay, we gonna need this amount of money.
And
Amount
then,
of money. We gonna need this amount of money to
Right now.
do this, and this. in order for this thing to continue to be
Right.
successful.
That's right.
And when the higher up said, no, we're not gonna put that money over there.
Right.
But we
So,
have to find.
you know what I'm saying? So that's
other
what,
avenues.
point.
We have to find
Yeah, let-
other avenues to approach these things, because, let me just say, we think that it's only the officials, right? We say that, we know that there's a higher power than that, right? There are individuals who are giving to societies. If you reach out to Shaquille O'Neal's foundation, to Michael Jordan's foundation, there are individuals that will come in to try to help if we reach out to them in the proper manner. We know that we can't depend on the politicians. I mean, that's just ridiculous to even think that we can, because they're taking all grants. Many of the organizations didn't get granted. So we have to think outside of the box. We have to reach outside of just thinking that the political grants are going to work, because they're not. They're non-existent, basically. So we have to come together and strategize in a different way.
Yeah, and we need broader support in the community, whether that's the religious community or whether that's the civic associations. But like I said, I think the bottom line is that more people have to start caring about other people, and not just people who are related to them or people they know.
Amen.
I like you to finish your point.
so-
You had more to say?
You know, if
If
you have,
I'd like to add something. Because we are called the church, I'm sure I got a lot of students in here, scholars in here. And the definition of the church is governing body. That's the Greek definition of church, governing body. So in Christ's time, he didn't wait for the Sadducees, Pharisees, and Sadducees to do all the governing. He taught his people to do that. And so I'm with you, and I believe you're right. If we're gonna start with anything, we have to start with us. Why? Because it's not just our job, it's who we are to care about everybody else in the world. And it does take care. Otherwise, you're looking for some other benefits, and that's what has happened over the past. So I believe you're on a great track. I think we need to start reaching out to churches and asking them to come together. Inside of those different churches are people like Brother Keith and this young lady and other people who have the skills, education, and the connections that will then get us into the governing bodies and other organizations, because it takes all three layers: governing, church, Christ, not just church, Christ, and nonprofits, which means all the people we talk about. So I think you're on the right path, but not putting some legs around it is what I think is what will help us.
well, the way I think about it is the first are gonna be last and the last are gonna be first. So if we're gonna be willing to serve those, we're gonna be the first of us, you gotta be willing to serve those who are the very least. And in my mind, that's the unhoused. And then the minorities, and then, you know, there's a whole list of us, right? People with disabilities, the elderly, babies.
You're always in need.
There's always a.
All right, I think we'll adjourn, but
I just wanted to say one thing. In the midst of all of that, let's stay connected here, because we are in the trenches. So as we continue to connect with each other, we can point people. You know what I mean? We're the filter. So as we connect with each other, we can point those people that we are coming in contact with to those agencies to get those individuals that are within our reach. He didn't tell us to get the entire lot. What's in your lot? Deal with that, what's in your lot. And as we're growing to get a council together, because that's what it's going to take. It's going to get it. You're going to have to get other players and other people on the. He had a great idea. I'm sorry he left. He had a great idea.
Reverend Jackson.
Yes, he had a great idea.
Sorry, I missed it.
But yet, it also takes others to be on that. That we have to look at what's under the underlying of all of that to get to that place of getting stable housing for all the people. We know that's what the Lord will want.
and this is the mustard seed.
You know what I mean? But even within that, he told my colleague priest on Sunday, he said, feed my sheep. And each one of us continue to feed the sheep, whether it's this pastor being here and doing a small bit of giving, you know what I mean, to the people that come through his pathway, or me at a larger place, the debate of doing on a bigger number. I minister to those people every Sunday. I'm in the trenches. We're pointing people to different facilities. We're getting them into their own apartments. One of my guys came in today, got his key first time he's ever had his own place. He's lived in different places, lived with family members. So we need to stay connected, so we can keep, you know what I mean, building this coalition to do the work.
So may I ask you, do we already have another date? We already have another date?
We have to discuss that.
You
Yeah,
let me
we'll be
know.
here, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah.
Did you get it signed?
Cadence.
I had one, but I was actually gonna get everybody to type their email if they could do that for me on my phone, and I will add you to the email chain. Do you wanna use here?
So
Let me
you and I will talk, and,
Thank you all.